Hello everyone, welcome along to the Chargers TV podcast. Yes, due to our schedules this week and due to unavailability of personnel, we've had to go podcast mode here, JB.
Massive week, Ronnie. It is our home season opener for the 2023 Coles Express NBL1 South season, Ronnie, and we've got events and happenings left, right and centre, whether it's media, whether it's club, whether it's personal, all that sort of stuff, Ronnie, flat out. So we thought the best way to do it is quickly get on the airwaves, pump out some content, no doubt another bumper episode in store, and review last week in what was a very much a character-building road trip for the club, Ronnie, and certainly what's bound to be one of the biggest home openers in club history as far as being able to have the double header and the return following a championship the previous season. Absolutely.
We'll touch a little bit on the champion side of things a little bit later because we have a lovely piece of
memorabilia
right here.
But best way to say is this one was supplied from one A. Stewart.
Round 2 of the Coles Express NBL1 South season concluded over the weekend, and saw your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers head over to Dandenong first up, and in the women's game they went down by 14 in what was a bit of a spirited game throughout, but Dandenong just too strong in the end there. Let's go. It was 79-65 to Dandenong. Let's go through the top scorers for you now. Paige Bradley with 19 points, 4 rebounds and 3 assists. Sarah O'Neill, who's come to the club in the last couple of weeks, JB, that was a little bit...
that was a fly under the radar there, and I think that's how Sarah wanted to keep it as well. Of course, Sarah having signed back before COVID in 2020, Ronnie, and I know had 2021 with Geelong before suffering a bit of an ankle injury, bit of a lower leg injury, but has taken around 12 months off. She's come back and certainly still has that spring in a step. The Sarah O'Neill we love and know.
Absolutely. 18 points, 7 rebounds and 2 assists. And Kayla Steinel had 17 points, 7 rebounds and 2 blocks as well too.
Get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, for the Dandenong Rangers, it was Pooch there with 35 points. She had a really good game. I did watch both games over the weekend, JB. I know you did too. 35, 9 rebounds and 3 assists. And then Flakaraka, if I get that right.
Yeah, Fakalata, I think it is.
Fakalata, yeah.
We'll go with that, and apologies in advance.
It's 13 points, 5 rebounds and 3 assists, and Booth with 12 points, 8 rebounds and 2 assists. So the game in itself was, early on, it was neck and neck, and then in that second half, Dandenong able to really open up the floodgates, so to speak, and they found some easy way to the baskets, JB. I thought at times the defensive rotations very poor from our women's side, and they paid the penalty there.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean the big thing as well for the Rangers, they're catching the Chargers straight off the plane, they're catching them straight into a game essentially there. For those of you that aren't quite aware exactly how a road trip really unfolds here for your Hobart Chargers, you'll find that the team essentially flies out in the morning, they land in Melbourne, they get in their rent-a-cars, they go straight usually to their hotel. If they've got a bit of time, they will try and get a feed in, and then pretty much from the feed, a bit of a stretch out, bit of a warm-up, and then they go pretty much to the stadium and base themselves there for a few hours. You then follow back to the hotel, get up in the morning, get some breakfast in, bit of a cool-down, and again get into the... they pretty much then immediately, once again, get back into things, Ronnie. So for the girls, a big road trip, as we mentioned there. And I think the other thing as well too, Ronnie, as we mentioned on the defensive end, a bit of a struggle there in that third term. The floodgates opened up. Halftime probably came at the wrong time as the girls looked like they were trying to build a bit of momentum. But just some really subpar conversion on the offensive end. I mean, there was... I had a bit of a conversation with assistant coach Ross Park during the week, and that's one thing he found with a few of the girls as well, that while they were getting it done defensively at times, they would let themselves down offensively. We've just not been able to get a bucket, or they're looking for contact rather than looking to score and wait for the contact to come. You look at some of those shooting percentages, they're certainly not characteristic of the players that had those shooting percentages. So, an off night there. Of course, for the Rangers, though, they've always put out a competitive unit. And Pooch there, as you mentioned, 35 points when your top scorer combines for what the second and third option on the night has, Ronnie. You're always in for a pretty tough battle. Of course, the Rangers running over the top there. But, I mean, for the girls, by no means were they disgraced. I think that's really evident to say. They bounced off a 39-point win, cut it back to 14. And showed some clear signs of growth and development, and particularly with that lineup as well. So, not the result they wanted, but certainly a far better result, and I would say a far better whole game, so to speak, than it was in round one.
Absolutely, and of course on Sunday they went to Ringwood up against the defending Southern Conference champions, and I tell you what, they put in one hell of a game, JB, and they only fell short by 9 points, 84-75, the final conclusion of that game. Paige Bradley with a season-high 30 points, 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Kayla Steindl backing up another good game there, 20 points, 11 rebounds and 4 assists. And Vince Aleu with 13.6 rebounds and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Maria Whittle with 16 points, 12 rebounds and 5 assists.
Who'd have thought just quietly a quiet game from Marina Whittle, and she's dominated once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Britton with 15 points, 6 rebounds and 6 assists. And then Farnworth there with 15 points, 4 rebounds and 4 assists as well too. In this one, JB, it was neck and neck really throughout most. That game could have went either way in that last quarter, but Ringwood able to hold strong. But a really good fight back from the girls. They led at one stage as well too. Made some really good runs. Though Ringwood, again, smart with their timeouts, made those adjustments and then able to run away there and hold on to that 9-point win.
Ultimately, the reason they're a championship team, Ronnie. That championship success really pushed through, that experience pushed through. And it's something we've spoken about over, certainly last season. When you look at teams when they grow and develop and support one another, they build that chemistry, they maintain a roster, they build that culture, and really take those stepping stones. These are the kind of results that you're going to see. And that's what Ringwood has really built to for the better part of a decade. And again, when you're one of the 2 best teams essentially in the country, the big thing ultimately for Hobart there, Ronnie, and that's something that I think that they've got to be really proud of. There's really clear steps that have been taken in challenging times already early in the season. Yeah, it's 0-3. And we'll get to Coach Dwayne Davey and his media conference a little later on, and he speaks about that. It's not a great footing. Not many teams do well out of an 0-3 start the season, but you go from essentially getting absolutely bamboozled by 40 points. You then step up on a tough road battle there to go down by 14, showing signs of competitiveness, just probably lacking a little bit of offensive composure and defensive accountability to really, if you wanted to equate this to a heavyweight fight, Hobart are in the fight for 10 rounds. It's those last 2 rounds that they just fell short of and weren't able to get the job done. But again, from everything we're seeing out of Ringwood, to give them full compliments as well, they're going to be another contender again, yes. As you can see there, as I mentioned, Marina Whittle, 16 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. She's averaging 25 a game. She's usually double-digit rebounds. Genuine MVP candidate. If you're going to hold her down to 16, give yourself more of a chance. Full compliments again. Kayla Steindl, double-double. She'll be very happy with that game there. Of course, Paige Bradley with her 30 points, and Vince Aleu coming back from a really tough opening game there as well. So plenty of positives to come out of it for the Chargers. They're going to be really stoked to be at home. I think the next test now is for the ladies is, okay, we're playing back-to-back nights again, but we're playing at home. We've got a little more comfort. We've got a little more, a few more things on our side. So, again, when you've got these kind of road battles or heads-up battles and you're sort of looking to struggle, 1-on-1's probably where they're looking at again. But, basing off their progression, there is a win coming up for the women's side very, very soon.
Absolutely, JB. And, of course, let's throw that out. Obviously, Dwayne Davey spoke with the media.
Yep, and Angeliki Vinceleo will run those ones for you now ahead of what is expected to be a massive bumper home opener at the Hobart Sport and Netball Centre. Here was Dwayne and Angeliki during the week.
Our general rule is we try not to lose at home. Generally split the road trips and win the home games. But obviously we've dug a little hole for ourselves with this 0-3 start and definitely don't want to be 0-5 at the end of this weekend. So, hopefully at least split it and hopefully come away with 2. So that's definitely the plan, yeah.
The vibe is great. It's great, and the coaches are always cheering up for us. They're very supportive. We're a young squad, so we have a lot of young players that they need that, and they need to get the chances, like the opportunities, step on the floor and step up, and we have the best people to do that.
So the thoughts there from head coach Dwayne Davey and Angelika Vinceleu. Right, let's go into the men's results for you now, and of course, Saturday night they took on the Dandenong Rangers, and the men went down 107 to 84. So Devon Watson had 38 points, 6 rebounds and 3 assists there. Sam McDaniel with 22 points, 11 rebounds and 2 assists. Jacob Richards with 9 points, 4 rebounds and an assist as well too. A miss there with 23 points and 12 rebounds and a couple of blocks for him for the Dandenong Rangers. Roberts with 21 points, 6 rebounds and 4 steals, and Pooch as well too had 17.6 rebounds and an assist as well too. This game, unfortunately, a little bit devastating for Chargers fans. Ollie Angerstein has gone down with a potential meniscus injury and could be out for the next month or so, JB.
Yeah, it's going to be a real interesting timeline. Of course, when we get to Coach Anthony Stewart, he'll probably explain that a little more. And, of course, all our press conferences from during the week can be found here on the Chargers TV YouTube channel. But just a really innocuous incident, Ronnie, and I think that's one of the more devastating things about it was that it's not like Ollie, you didn't look at it and go, oh, he's blown his knee. It was one of those, he simply went up for a rebound, he came down, you saw a bit of a twitch, he's down holding his knee. I was doing a bit of a score check at the time, I had a few things going on over the weekend as well. Went to do a score check, and literally at the moment I'm checking the scores, I watched that play there. As the captain that he is of the Wham Bam Jam, thank you ma'am, squad of the NBL1, not only is it devastating from that standpoint, but certainly from someone like Ollie, who again come from relative obscurity in the last 18 months to pretty much be an absolute force in the south of Australia in basketball in general. So really not good for him. And again, we send our best wishes for recovery for him. Coach Stewart mentioned it could be a 3 to 6 weeker, it could be a 3-monther. So it really depends. And, of course, for Ollie as well, his priority, it's the Chargers, it's basketball, but Ollie's also got his family, he's also got his work and his job, and he's got a lot of other commitments as well. So as much as we'd love to see Wham, Bam, Jam, thank you, man, back on the floor, he does need to take care of number one, and number one is himself. So we do wish him the best. A lot of positives, though, to still coming up for the Chargers. I mean, not having an inside presence really hurt in this game in the second half, and again, really evident there just with the results. But Devon Watson, one of the best imports that the club has seen in the last few years, Ronnie. And I think the best way I can describe it is you've got Trey Nichols at 6'1", you've got AJ Harris at 6'1". And when you want to look at the shooting, for those that remember, Rob Hire in 2017 was an 18-7 guy, and he was a genuine 3-and-D player.
Word he was,
Went on to play with the South Bay Lakers in the G League. Such was Rob's talents there. So he really encompasses a lot of them. I know Anthony Stewart has very high appraisal for Devon Watson, and understandably so. I mean, really playing well. Sam stepping up as well, which is good to see. We'll hear from him in a little bit as well, and Jacob trying to step up. But again, honestly, Ronnie, I just think the thing that hurt was, trying to adjust your game plan in the middle of a game is completely different to walking out the floor knowing what pieces you've got.
Correct.
So a lot of people are going to go, oh, geez, look at the next result. Well, yeah, and we'll get to the next result because it's an unbelievable result.
It is.
But when you're in the middle of a game and you've planned an entire game about having a solid rebounder, about having a big that's going to protect the rim, someone who's going to put a bit of an intimidation factor, and you lose that, not only psychologically does that hit the players going, wow, we're down a player, but the coaching staff are then adjusting on the fly and changing everything. And that's not saying the coaching staff can't do it. I mean, that's why they're the coaching staff. But it's a big psychological disadvantage. So full credit to the Rangers. And again, they're going to be another competitive unit as well. We've seen that so far through the year. And we are early on, but, the Rangers are going to be around that upper mid-table, I would say, in the way they play their game.
Absolutely. They played a really good game. And credit to Sam Wisdom as well, too, the head coach there, the Dandenong Rangers, done a fantastic job with that team, and no doubt they'll be right up there come towards the end of the season. Let's turn our attention to Sunday's game against the Ringwood Hawks, and boy, oh boy, was a next man up mentality, JB. This win is one for the ages, that is for sure. The Chargers get the win 108 to 99 in what was a fantastic game, and not only did Devon Watson have a big game, but our youngsters had a big game as well too, and we'll touch on that very shortly. Let's go through some of the stats for you now. Devon Watson with 31 points, 2 rebounds and 5 assists.
Back-to-back 30 pieces on the road.
Jacob Richards with 22 points, 15 rebounds and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Callum Boucher with probably his best game of the season to
Probably
date.
probably the best game of his Chargers career so far,
Yep,
I'd say, Ronnie.
I agree with that as well too, JB. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and a couple of dunks in there if you don't mind as well too.
Couple of wham bam jam, thank you, man.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, it was Daggett who was actually on fire early in that first half. He had 22 points, 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Lawton had 17 points, 4 rebounds and 8 assists. Meanwhile, Sturt had 15.6 rebounds and 3 assists. But what a game by some of the youngsters. You've got Callum Boucher, who played one of the best games to his career by far at the moment. Will Ferguson stepping out of nowhere.
Yeah, he had double
digits as well too. You had Phoenix Roby doing the hard work there. Harry Griffith's got some good pinch minutes in there as well too. And then Devon played a really good game as well. Geordie Hargrave again doing a bit of dirty work.
Sam McDaniel again getting it done in the two-way essence, Ronnie. It was just one of those games, as you mentioned, it's that next man up mentality. And I know, speaking to Phoenix, he was a little worried about what sort of, how am I going to be looking on the road? I know for someone like Will, who's essentially gone from, I'm just on the fringe of the squad last year to, mate, we need you 20 minutes a night. You've got 5 double-digit scorers there, Ronnie. You're 50% from the field. You're over 80% from the line. You're getting that conversion that you want. Limited turnovers as well. With such a young squad, only 10 turnovers for the game. And 9 of those turnovers come from Devon, Jacob, and Sam McDaniel as well. So if you're going to look at it there, you've got Callum Boucher with just the 1, Will Ferguson without 1, everyone else without 1. Just really good conversion. As you mentioned, Ronnie, that next man up mentality. And I mean, I use Will as an example. Someone who's right on the fringe to all of a sudden, mate, if we need to call upon you to play some serious minutes and get some buckets, we can call upon you to play some serious minutes and get some buckets. Talked about Callum there. He spoke before the season started there about, pretty much getting rid of outside distractions, just letting his game do the talking. It's one of the best things that we've seen Callum come up through the age groups. He's a far more mature player over the last 18 months. And again, it's starting to show there. And I think, compliments to someone like Sam as well, who's obviously just inked that deal with Brisbane, who's really wanting to show out and go, okay, had a bit of a rough NBL season. Yep. This is what's coming in NBL 24. Willing to take the step back. Jacob stepping up after what you would probably call, a bit of a sub-performance the night before. Devon with a 30-piece. Again, that next man up mentality. Everyone having a go. Everyone getting it in. And importantly, on top of that too, Ronnie, 108 points. This wasn't a won a game 75-65. This was a genuine gunsling from the get-go. So a really positive there. And Anthony Stewart's a pretty busy man, Ronnie. I think you and I know him well enough to know that.
Absolutely.
If there were 25 hours in the day, Anthony would still need one more.
Yep.
I flicked Stewie a text message about 10 minutes after the game, just in rough shot, and I'll get it up actually.
Yep,
it was just a casual little message, and you know what Stewie's like. He's probably got 1,000 messages coming at him at any one time, and just pretty much just threw it to him. Massive win, character building win. Well done. And within a couple of minutes, I must have got him off the floor.
Must have.
Amazing, mate. Best win ever. Stewie's words. He was absolutely thrilled with that game, and you'll hear Anthony talk about it in the press momentarily. But I don't think he could be happier for a really young core group, and a lot of people have asked questions. I don't think I think it's pretty public knowledge that a lot of people have asked questions of how this team's going to look, how the young one's going to play, what is the makeup of this team. Here's your prime example.
Yeah.
They've rolled out. They've really got the job done. Again, another credit as well has to go to Ringwood. They brought the fight as well. The Chargers really ran away with that game in the third term. They outscored them by 18, but really put the pressure on once again in the fourth quarter. And really, outside of that third term is really what the difference in that game was. So for Ringwood, if you're looking at it on the other side of things, a bit more conversion in the third, bit more defensive pressure in the third. Do they get the win as well? I think it's a really, really, really good win for the Chargers. And 1 and 2, when you consider, for my money, didn't get out of second gear in round 1 with Devon pretty much just off the plane. But no, Ringwood played really, really well. The Chargers just happened to play better, and it was definitely that second half. 48-60, outscored them by 12 in the second half to get the job done. Big tick in the box for development, big tick in the box for local talent, and it is set to be an absolute bumper home game now leading into the weekend. But no, a massive, massive road win for the Chargers.
Absolutely. And, I bumped into Stewie on Monday, and, he was very happy. I think he was very happy to see me for one, but very happy to
shameless plug on the start there. I love that.
Very happy though to tell me that he was very impressed with that win and very impressed with those youngsters. they responded after, from what now Stewie told me that he gave his team a bit of a two bobbers worth. Saying after Saturday night's game against Dandenong, and then they've responded in kind on the Sunday, which is fantastic to see. So this is really good signs. And as you say, JB, it just sets up for a big Friday night coming up. But let's throw to Stewie, because Stewie fronted the press earlier today.
He did. We'll throw to Stewie, and of course we'll throw to Sam McDaniel as well with their thoughts on the road trip, and of course the big games coming up this weekend.
I said to the boys after the second game, it's probably the biggest win we've had in the club history, having, I think at one stage, 5 18-year-olds on the floor playing against grown men. I probably didn't think we'd get a win till later in the year. Again, we're looking at that development, but incredible win. And now we move on to Ballarat, and hopefully they can repeat. I think we'll have some ups and downs this season, but I could not be prouder of the group, and in particular Devon and Sam Mack, providing that mentorship that they seem to flourish under that guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. Always the goal is to win. And to answer your question, yeah, I'm still loving it here. I guess still wanted to stay in Hobart just to still be in Tasmania and to I guess tie up loose ends, I guess, and get ready for my move. So yeah, it's been great. Stewie's been great. The team's been great. Looking forward to the challenge of being more of a leader and hopefully coming out the other side of it with some wins.
So the thoughts there from head coach Anthony Stewart and Sam McDaniel there as well. So this sets up now for a huge home doubleheader coming up. Ballarat are in town first up on Friday night. They sit 16th on the ladder with a 1-3 record. Hobart, unfortunately, down at the bottom, 0-3. Currently at the moment.
So a real for the women there, Ronnie, that's a real momentum game for both sides. For Ballarat, it's coming on the road. It's wanting to really prove a point there. Yeah, as you mentioned there, 1-3. Of course, Geelong, Casey, Hobart, the only teams not to get one there. So, the big pressure there is, and to be fair, Ballarat got a win in their first game of the season. So for Hobart, again, good chance to establish home court. But also for Ballarat, they're looking at Hobart and they're looking at Launceston, because you've got to remember both of these teams are doing double duty at both ends of the state.
Yes.
If you're Ballarat, you're looking at Hobart and you're going, right, this is the team we're probably going to get our win against. So that'll be a really competitive game Friday night, no doubt.
Absolutely, and the place to watch will be Abigail Weerung, who's had a pretty good time any time she's come down to Hobart, JB. At the moment, she's averaging 20.5 points per game and 7.7 rebounds, and then you can throw in 4.5 assists as well, 2 per game. And, of course, the veteran who's been around forever, Christy Rinaldi, she's averaging 9.2 points per game and 6 rebounds per game, doing a bit as the veteran of the team.
Smart and savvy.
And as a team, JB, at the moment, they're averaging around about that 62 points per game mark, 41.5 rebounds per game, and 13.2 assists. Their last game, they lost to Nutter Whiting by 44, 95 to 51.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So this game will be pretty much even Stevens, I could imagine there.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be one of those games, Ronnie, there. That 60-point margin is something, that 60 points there is roughly where I think Dwayne Davey would be comfortable with having the team allow as far as points. It's not necessarily something in regards to, you're not going to live and die and go, they're only going to score 60. Chargers are still going to have to be disciplined on defence, and they're still going to have to convert offensively. As you mentioned there, Rinaldi and Weerung, that was it. Again, Weerung's always been a pleasure to watch and call at Chargers games there. And, of course, Rinaldi, that savvy veteran as well. So, providing that 1-2 punch, they're going to get you defensively. They're going to capitalise offensively. They're not going to be afraid on the glass. So it's going to be a real interesting matchup. Of course, the favour for the Chargers is they're really building towards that win. Unfortunately, It just sounds like for Ballarat, they're just taking a couple of steps back there. I mean, getting beat like they did is not ideal. But at the same time, for Hobart, you can't be sympathetic to the opposition if you want to get a win.
That's right.
So we'll see how they go there.
And, of course, Saturday night, they take on the Knox Raiders, who are currently in 5th position at the moment with a 2-1 record. And, of course, the headliner in this team is none other than Alicia Froling, averaging 29.3, leading the score, 15 rebounds per game, 1.3 blocks and 2 assists as well, too.
Is there anyone else on the team, Ronnie?
No. In my research, I just put Alicia Froling, and that's it.
And understandably, pretty sure rolled out as the NBL1 South Women's MVP last year. and essentially relearnt how to shoot.
Yes.
Like, learn how to shoot left-handed.
Correct.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, how good do you have to be? I got sick of playing right-handed, so I learnt to play on my left, and I was the best player in the comp in my left hand. We know what the Frolings can do. We've seen a Froling dominate here in Hobart,
Absolutely.
in Harry. We've seen Keeley dominate up in Launceston, and we've seen Sam have some pretty good years up in Illawarra as well.
Yes.
They are a very gifted basketball family. As far as men's and women's basketball combined, you could probably argue the first family of basketball in this country.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. And again, that's, the interesting matchup there as well will be, Kayla Steindl will have had that circled on her calendar.
Oh, yeah.
She will know that Froling is coming to town. That is the big matchup for her to stay in right at the start of her season. So that's going to be an interesting matchup there, and I'm really interested to see because, Kayla has proven that she's quite capable. She started really hitting her straps as well, getting towards that double-double. So we could be heading for a bit of a crescendo here in that one-on-one battle, Ronnie. Again, it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. We do talk about the fact that Knox are up there 2-1 right now. The battle of the Frolings on Friday night is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And then, again, got to back that up going up against Kayla Steindl. So for Alicia Froling as well, she's looking at that going, it's a real tough road trip. Travelling interstate, but that's a really tough road trip to try and battle and work through that as well. And, of course, the other side of it for Hobart, the scout's going to focus on Alicia Froling. But you cannot just isolate on Alicia Froling because the second you start just worrying about Alicia Froling, that is the moment that you yourself are going to be in some serious trouble on the defensive end because you've only got to isolate once, and unfortunately they will start catching you pretty quickly. I'm just going to get a couple of...
And while you're doing that, JB, here at the team averages, the beauty of jumping on the NBL1 website is actually going to the club websites and going into their stats because we can see what they're averaging and then per player as well too. So the team average at the moment, 72.6 points per game, 55.3 rebounds per game, and 17 assists per game as well too. Their last game was against Kilsyth, and they won that by 8, 68-60. So they are coming in with good form, JB, and you could also too there you got
Leah Sanamaggio was another one as well last time we were down, Ronnie, that really produced a lot of problems as well. And again, as I mentioned, you just can't sit there and rely upon the fact that Alicia Froling is probably the number one player in the country in the South Conference there. That's a really hard one to debate, but you can't live and die by the fact that that's all that's going to attack you there. They've still got 3 double-digit scorers. They've still got plenty of ball facilitation. They've still got plenty of rebounding and plenty of defence there as well. So, it's going to be a real tough matchup. And again, if you're Hobart, though, you're really looking at your matchups there going, okay, let's build some confidence on Friday night and let's see what we can do Saturday night.
Absolutely, and of course you can watch the games by the NBL1 website or the NBL1 app. We'll be on air from 5 to 6 local time, and looking forward to finally calling our first game, JB.
Yes.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We'll touch on the broadcast lineup a little bit later on in the podcast.
Absolutely.
Let's have a look at the men's games now, and they're up against Ballarat, of course, at 8 o'clock down at Creek Road. They're 2-2 in Tenford at the moment, and
battling around that same that same mark almost to Hobart.
And leading the way, Jack Davison averaging 23.5 points per game, and Tyler Rudolph with 22.5 points per game and 10.2 rebounds as well too. And Adam Fosby, who's been around for a little while, 18.7 points per game as well. Their team average is 94.5 points per game, 44 rebounds per game, and then 18 assists. Their last game, they lost to Keilor by 3 in a close one, 95-92. So Ballarat, certainly with a few outs, that is for sure. Very different team from last year's lineup. So completely not newish, but new enough. But they won't be any easy beats by far, JB.
Absolutely not. Another one there you don't want to sleep on either, Ronnie, is Nick Pozoglu. Has plenty of NBL and NBL1 level status and is a hell of an athlete.
He is.
We watched him win the 2019 Blitz dunk contest.
Oh, my word. We've got vision on that.
Down here, yes.
I might have to senior division.
Yeah, that little dunk there, I know who was holding the camera, Jay Bryan. He can fly. He can really play. And again, as you mentioned there, Davidson, Rudolph and Thosby, they're going to be some real interesting matchups as well. It's going to be another interesting game. As I mentioned there for Hobart, they've really built their own momentum at this stage, Ronnie. So, you get the win on the road, really hard pressing. Of course, we heard from McDaniel. We heard from Stewart as well. I'm not sure whether he's going to be in this week or not, but I know JB's not far away either. You also have the benefit of being home, which means you're able to have a bit of a deeper lineup. And if an injury was to occur, you do have that ability to, probably call up players being at home. You can't necessarily at 8:30, 9 o'clock on a Saturday night ask someone to fly over Sunday morning for a game in Melbourne. So, again, going to be a really nice battle here. Of course, looking at the ladder, compared to where Knox are, as well with Ballarat. I mean, it's going to be two really tough games. I mean, you look at the splits there, 10th through 13th, which is Ballarat, Knox, Ringwood and the Chargers. They're all thereabouts. So there's going to be some really interesting games going on over the next few weeks, certainly over the weekend, that's for sure. And that game against Ballarat, I mean, the ladder's going to look really realistically, it's sort of like finals at the end of last year, Ronnie. The ladder's going to look a lot different at the end of this round. Teams that could be going 2-2, could be 1-1 road trips. Who knows? But the battle against Ballarat is going to be very interesting indeed.
Absolutely. Everyone kind of doubling up this weekend too. It's a lot of double headers for most of the clubs in the Coles Express NBL1 South season. Of course, Saturday night they take on Knox, who are 1-2 and sitting in 11th at the moment. And it's Kichan, I think I've got that right, Kichan Fegan, averaging 17 points per game, 5.5 assists per game, and a couple of blocks as well too. And then it's Madur Aki with 15.5 a game, points-wise. Yeah. And then Denga Koof, who's been around for a while as well too, 12.6 points per game and 7.3 rebounds. On the team average, they average around 81.6 per game, 43 rebounds per game, and 16 assists as well too. Their last game, they lost to Kilsyth by 5, 86-81.
You look at this Knox lineup, Ronnie, and again, you talk there, Mason Peatling amongst the rebounds and the blocks as well too. Kijan Fagan, as you mentioned there, one of 4 double-digit scorers with established NBL1 talent. And that's something that, for a lot of these young guys too, you might not be rolling in against the Gold Coast Rollers, who have 4 or 5 players who play in the NBL. But the next step for these young guys is establishing themselves consistently at NBL1 level, and that's what these guys have done here at Knox. So, the big test is going to be, your next step to take is stepping up to that NBL1 level. These are your competitors. These are, your peers, so to speak. So, for your Callum Bouchers, for your Will Fergusons, Jacob Richards, I think, at this point has stepped up into that realm. But it's Callum Boucher, it's Will Ferguson and alike, it's your Harry Griffiths, it's your Phoenix Robies, all those guys that are now ready to take that next step. This is the kind of opposition you're going to consistently be compared to. And, for some of these guys too, if they get to a point in their career where the option to travel abroad and play the sport is there, then, you're going to need to be at this level consistently if you're going to be considered for that. So, a really tough matchup there, as you mentioned, with Knox, Ronnie. They're sitting at 11th, Ballarat at 10th, Ringwood at 12th, us at 13th. So these, essentially you're playing your real compatriots over the next, your most recent 3 games, played the Rangers 4th and 5th. So realistically, all of their games right now between 8th and 13th for the Chargers, they could potentially sneak up to as high as 8th, depending on how the ladder plays out for everyone. They could even fall as low as 15th. Let me have a look. 16th. Could fall to 16th. So this is, again, one of those ones. You're at home. You want to establish yourself. You want to get 2 wins on the board. You've built good momentum. And I think the other thing as well, Ronnie, you're coming out in a situation where you're unveiling a championship. You're unveiling the trophy. You're unveiling the banner. It's a pride thing to get the job done at home this round.
It's going to be a big Friday night. Obviously, we'll have the trophy down there. We'll have the banner down there.
And where can they catch that live stream?
They can catch it by the NBL1 website or the NBL1 app. We're on air from 5 to 6 Friday night and 5 to 8 for the men's game as well too.
And now for the Saturday night, there is a slight time change. We do need to alert that. So for Saturday night, games will be 5:30 and 7:30. So we'll be on air from 5:25 in the women and 7:25 in the men's on Saturday night.
Yes. Looking forward to double duty on coming up this weekend, JB. We've got our work cut out for us, but we're looking forward to it. Of course, JB on the women's, I'm on the men's. We all, as usual, will swap the roles around. Now, we must stress, Jacob Dill will be joining us this year, but unfortunately at the moment, some
due to some personal commitments.
He won't be with us this weekend, so we're hoping to have him back with us very soon.
And a big shout out to Jacob as well. We will be running pretty much. We'll likely be running most of the time the 3-man, I'd say, Ronnie. We might get the odd occasion where we can get a bit of a boundary ride in, but looking to run the 3-man booth on that. And, of course, a big shout-out to our cameraman, Sam, who, Sam the man, will be with us once again for the... we might be biased in this one, Ronnie, but the number one broadcast team in the country.
Well, I like hearing it.
So do I.
I'm trying to be modest about it.
Don't know whether you're allowed to beat your own drum with that sort of thing, though.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, JB.
We've got one more step to take, though, Ronnie. We just fell short last year, you and I. We've got one more step to take.
We've got one more step. Let's hope it's this year. Let's hope.
Absolutely.
Of course, you can follow the McKay Timber Hobart Chargers by our social media, because we've been pumping out some social media and pumped out some nice graphics today as well, too. I'm just going to pump up my own work here, JB.
We can send the first aid kit to the broken arm, Ronnie. He's just patted himself on the back.
Absolutely.
No, they are very nice there, Ronnie. We have obviously pumped up more social media than ever. A huge build. We're trying to get at minimum one post a day, but we're some days there 2, 3, even 4. And of course Thursday a big day for us. Friday will be a big day for us. Saturday a big day, and we might just peter out a little bit with a bit of a highlights reel Sunday before we ramp it up again on the Monday. But of course, Ronnie, where can people catch us on socials?
Yes, well, you can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel as well too, where you'll find this very podcast, video podcast, whatever you want to call it. And of course, you can follow. Make sure that you subscribe and, of course, keep up to date with all the goings on here for your McKay Timber Hobart Chargers. Now, JB, I mentioned at the top of the show we do have a special guest with us. I'm sure JB will throw the
we'll
picture.
throw that image up now.
Yep, it's JB with the trophy there, folks, and it's the NBL1 South trophy here.
It's a lot heavier than I remember it, Ronnie.
It is, and no, it's nice to have it with us here on set. And I
think we might have to have it at the game Friday night.
Yes,
Ronnie.
we'll bring it down. We'll bring it down Friday at the game, along with the banner as well too. The banner just around the corner. So great to have that here. Now it's Anzac round as well too, JB.
It is, Ronnie.
So now in this round as well too, we are honouring the Anzacs, which is fantastic and great to see by the league. We also have an MVP for the games, and they will receive a medallion as well too, voted by the coaches and the referees.
Yes, I did see that one come through most of our comms during the week, Ronnie. That's another great initiative there. And again, a bit of extra motivation for everyone as well. I mean, we always talk about it here. Probably the two biggest rounds, I'd say, for the Chargers, Ronnie, routinely have been the derbies and certainly breast cancer awareness round.
Yes.
But I think, with the added vestige there with the Anzac Day medal, that's something that is going to be really strong throughout the league, not only this year but throughout. And, why wouldn't you want your name on the inaugural medal for the game there? So, a bit of extra motivation, but no, again, just great by the league there as well to honour the fallen for Anzac Day as well. So, not only is it obviously a big home opener, but Anzac round being a pretty big round as well. So a lot going on the NBL1 across the weekend.
And of course the NBL1, in the Coles Express NBL1 and in the Coles Express NBL1 South competition, games have already started tonight as we're doing this recording. So round 3 is off and running.
And as you say that, Ronnie, let's get a bit of a live update.
Yes,
looking at the women's game there, it looks like Ringwood got the win over Kilsyth, 77-66.
There you go.
And live as we see, we'll just get if we can get that one up here, we'll get a rough time left on this one. So it looks around half time here. Kilsyth up 49-46 in the men's.
There you go. So the whole round goes right through to Anzac Day, and then
it's a Wednesday to Tuesday. It's a 6-day round. I mean, that's one of the biggest. I mean, I know we were Siebel, but that's one of the biggest rounds in recent memory for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the Chargers will host another home game next week against the Melbourne Tigers on April 28th.
Fair bit of retro. We've got some very, 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 very exclusive. And we know it's exclusive because he told us after it was exclusive. We're going to have to. I think we're going to have to drag out the old interview, Ronnie.
I'll pull it out of the hard drive this week, and
set aside a good hour and a half for that one, folks.
Now we'll try to get Andrew next week. We will endeavour to do our best. Whether we actually get him live after.
He's going to be a wanted man.
He's definitely going to be a wanted man. Always is when he comes down to Hobart. That is for sure.
Yeah, we might even put some extra comms out early, Ronnie, just to see whether we can secure that interview for Mr. Gaze. But no, we will endeavour to try and get a fresh interview with Andrew. Yeah, so hopefully we'll try and secure something with Andrew, whether we get it as a brief little hit or maybe even see whether we can get him maybe a bit of a halftime interview at some stage, Ronnie. We'll certainly try and get Andrew at some stage.
Yes, absolutely. And, of course, the Tigers not doing too badly. We'll have more on them next week's show. Now, hopefully, next week, are we coming back to on set, or we?
I think we'll be aiming for set.
Aim for set. All right, JB. That sounds good to me, because this podcast has gone quite long, which is always good.
That's all right.
There's enough listening there for the viewers.
Crew here at Swisher have always been accommodating, and despite the fact the calls to sack me, I have still somehow maintained the job here at Chargers TV. Ronnie, despite the fact David for years and years and years campaigned hashtag sack him, Ronald.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a one man. It was trending with one man. Yes, it was the man who wrote it himself. But no, again, big shout out to the crew here, always welcoming, and of course, always good to be amongst the history, the championships, and the banners and whatnot, Ronnie. But no, always good to be in at Swisher Hoops, and it never stops here at Swisher Hoops Academy.
Absolutely. Well, that will pretty much wrap us up here from Swisher Hoops Academy. We're on air Friday night and Saturday night from 5:55pm and 7:55pm respectively, and then Saturday the special times of JB.
They will be at 5:25 on Saturday for the women and 7:25 for the men. And one quick disclaimer with that one there: the only official link is via the NBL1 app, the NBL1 website, and if you are looking for that link, you can find that on our Chargers Facebook page and our Chargers Twitter page. Do not click anything in the comments.
Correct.
You don't need to pay for it, nothing of that sort. It's the NBL1 website, the NBL1 app, and you can find those official links via the Chargers Facebook and Twitter.
Absolutely. Live and free. We must stress that highly enough. And I'll tell you what, the amount of blocking we are doing to those spam links is unbelievable.
We are the Dikembe Mutombo of social media.
You're telling me. All righty, on behalf of Justin Bryan, I'm Roll Riggs. We will see you Friday night at the Hobart Netball and Sports Centre, where we host Ballarat.